All right.
Hello. Hi.
Why don't you introduce yourself and give a short summary about your works?
All right. My name is Kevin Emerson. I'm the author of the book Exile, which is the first in a 3-book series about a girl named Summer and a boy named Caleb who are on the search for a set of lost songs from Caleb's past. I'm also the author of the Atlanteans trilogy, which is a science fiction fantasy series. And before that, in another life, a middle grade author of The Fellowship for Alien Detection and Carlos Is Gonna Get It.
That was really good. Some authors I feel like freak out when they have to on spot do the summary thing.
I think I just got lucky.
All right, so what inspired you to start writing?
Writing was just what I did when I wanted there to be more stories about my favorite characters. When I was like, the earliest stories that I have copies of are from when I was like 9 and 10 years old. I would go to see Indiana Jones movies or James Bond movies and read all the Choose Your Own Adventure books and read all the novels, and then I would just want more, and so I started writing my own stories. And that basically continued. You know, I just kept loving my favorite stuff and wanting there to be more of it. So it was fan fiction, though that term wasn't around back in like the 80s when I grew up.
Yeah. And so explain your writing process.
My process feels really inefficient, but then I talk to other authors and we all feel that way, so I guess it's kind of normal. Most of my books have started with this sense of a character speaking to me in my head, you know, like I get a voice going, I start to imagine them talking, and that's a voice I want to spend some time with. Some novels have literally, my very first novel was a first line popped into my head and I didn't even know what it was going to be, so I wrote it down real quick. Other novels, I get that voice going and then I start to, you know, I usually write an outline, but I don't really use my outlines after I write them. But I'll write that out, see if I really feel like I have something, and then I kind of then I go from there. I feel like my books happen one word at a time, you know.
So do you write in order, or do you write the scenes out of order?
I write mostly in order, but there have been some pretty big exceptions. You know, one time I wrote a scene, I couldn't figure out the beginning, so I intentionally wrote a scene I knew was late in the book. One time I wrote a scene that I thought was the middle, and it actually turned out to be the best beginning. It was better than the whole beginning that I had, so I moved it up. Mostly though, like, I kind of work in order, but I definitely will skip parts. If I'm stuck, I'll just be like, all right, forget it. Go to the next scene, if I can.
All right, so during your writing process, do you tend to just sit and focus on your work at hand, or do you get up and let your mind wander off a little bit?
I have a really hard time getting started. Like every day I wake up and I'm like, all right, let's do this. I'm gonna write like 5 pages before like breakfast. And then like everything happens. I don't know, just like I get so distracted, and like I have little kids, I take them to school and all this stuff. So I find that like I'm usually able to get like 1 or 2 stretches in the day where I write for like an hour with absolutely nothing distracting me. And even, that doesn't really sound like much, but like if you just sit there for an hour and write, and it's working, you can get a lot done. So if that happens like once or twice a day, I settle into something like that, then I get a lot done.
Yeah, it sounds like doing homework, really.
Yeah, there's this amount of procrastination that like I feel guilty the whole time, and yet I think what's happening is that I'm sort of like just kind of clearing space in my mind to like really focus.
Right. Sometimes that's a good way to start, though. Did any authors inspire you?
Yeah. Well, I read a lot of like, I didn't read anything like highbrow when I was a kid. You know, I read Stephen King and I read like Dean R. Koontz and all these kind of like pop horror writers. That was always, I was really into that in middle school, and like I didn't like any of the books that were given to me in high school. Kurt Vonnegut changed that in college. I found Kurt Vonnegut and really got inspired by his style. I was an elementary school teacher for a while, and it was what the kids were reading when I was a teacher that really made me want to write for kids and teens. And so the writers who really inspired me first off were like Sharon Creech, Laurie Halse Anderson, Joan Bauer, who all, you know, write sort of contemporary.
Yeah.
And then I blew through the Harry Potter series and series of unfortunate events. And I loved Philip Pullman's Golden Compass series. And so as I've been working along, those have been my huge influences.
Awesome. So on average, how long does it take you to write a book?
They take me anywhere from a couple months to, in one case, like 5 years. Not of consistently working on it. I tend to get a first draft done in about 2 or 3 months, and that draft usually needs a lot of work. There was one time where I wrote, in fact, it was Exile. I wrote the whole first draft in like a month, and I looked at it again, and it was so bad that I deleted the whole thing, and the only part I kept was a part I hadn't even used in the first draft. I had this one other piece, and I was like, wait a minute, like I just had the voice totally wrong. So usually that's about the timeline, and this one exception was I did this middle grade book that came out last year. It's called The Fellowship for Alien Detection, and I wrote the first half of that book before my daughter was born. She's like 9 years old now, and it has 2 characters and one big alien conspiracy, and it's like an adventure, but a road trip with families, and it took me so long to get it right, just draft after draft, and it got rejected like 20 times. So that one took me forever. So sometimes, and I think I needed to become a good enough writer to get it right.
Yeah, so though there are some similarities between your novels, they're all pretty different, I'd say. So was there one book or just a genre or character that came more naturally to you to write?
That's a really good question, because I think there are these similarities between the different characters. Sometimes they're like more like me, in a way, though. I think the characters who are more different have come out faster. Like, so I have this book coming out in February. It's called Breakout, and it's about this 8th grade boy, and he's 14 but stuck in 8th grade, and like he's really based on kids when I was a teacher who annoyed me so much because they wouldn't do any work in class, and they were the kind of kids who would be super, like, the moment they had a chance to say something obnoxious or like get a laugh, he's one of those kids. When I started writing it, like, he was so different than me, but I had heard his voice so much that like it really came out fast, and I realized I really cared about him, even though like he drove me nuts. You know what I mean? Like, I was just like, but now, like, as I started to hear his voice talk, I was like, I started to think about what would really be bothering him and why he would act like that. So he came out really fast. I think a big thing with all my characters, what makes them similar, is that they struggle to say what's on their mind. They struggle to feel the courage to like get outside of their own heads and actually to be honest, to just be like, this is what I feel or this is what I need. They tend to start in those. Summer is like that, and then in the Exile series, the main character Owen, he's just like, he's so stuck in his head the way I used to feel when he's like, he's younger, he's like 15, but just that sense that like he's scared of people who talk fast and who are quick, and thus he can't do it, and that's always been something that's been tough for me.
So do you find yourself in your novels?
Yeah, I do. Nothing has been very autobiographical, and I think like when I was younger, like I was in high school and college, the stuff I was trying to write felt really autobiographical, and even then I kind of knew, I was like, this isn't working. This is too kind of like, oh, woe is me about my own life. And once I started like writing for kid characters and teen characters, that changed. But yeah, like in Exile, like the piece of where Summer is like this, she wants to be a band manager, she wants to live in music, and yet her parents and kind of the world around her, because she's like a smart kid, they want a totally different future for her, like a vision, and being stuck in that world is something I've always been stuck with. And then like Caleb, the really hesitant front man, like he's like the opposite of what a rock star should be. He's just so anxious, and like he wants to put himself out there, but he's scared to do it. That's me. Even the dad, like the dead dad in the book, who they discover, like his like bleakest moments are moments that I feel like I felt both as a musician, as an adult, but then also like as a father. So yeah, I feel like when it's working well for me, it's spread out little bits everywhere.
So does being a musician help you with your writing?
I think so. The best thing it does for me is that it gives me something. It gives me a distraction and a different way to think about creating.
Right.
If I'm stuck, one of the best things I can do is grab my guitar and play, or like write a song. The only problem with that is as I get older, like I feel like doing that is like not going to pay the bills, and I need to get my book done. But it's like if I just go play guitar for a while, or like I did original songs for Exile. That was so good for me creatively to like feel that. Also, when I was trying to get published, my first few manuscripts, one of the comments people always made to me, editors, in rejection letters, was like, you have a really cool rhythm. It's very like unique and interesting. Well, then they tell me they didn't want the book. But I feel like one thing that works for me is if I'm doing music and writing, they bleed into each other. You know what I mean? I think about structure in songs, but I think about rhythm when I'm writing.
Yeah, but in a way, all arts kind of come together, sort of.
Yeah.
And being an artist, I can understand having to step back from different things and just take a minute for yourself.
I feel like writing a first draft of a book is kind of like jamming on the drums, and then when you revise it, that's like going back and really figuring out what the beat is and what the song is. So it's like they're so similar.
So you have to tell us, what were you like growing up as a teenager?
I was, so I feel like I had teen life really dialed in when I was like 13, like in 8th grade. The 80s fashion worked for me. The feathered hair worked for me. I was like a drummer, that worked for me. I was totally killing it in 8th grade, like popular and like not that popular, but it's like I was like going out with girls and stuff. And then like it's like slowly went downhill in high school because like those kids who were cool to hang out with in 8th grade, like I don't know, they wanted to drink, they wanted to party. I didn't want to do that. Like the more I awakened like intellectually and the deeper I got into music, the more I was like, I really am happiest when I'm being a huge nerd about stuff. You know what I mean? And so I diverged. Like by the end of high school, I had sort of lost all the friends I'd had going into high school. And I needed to refocus. It was a weird time. Like it all went fine. But if you met me in high school, it's like, I was like this kid who like, I was in the marching band and I ran track. So you'd see me in like a scrawny tank top or in a dorky marching band outfit.
So did you have any defining moments as a teenager?
I had some good ones, like for sure. I joined a peer counseling group in high school, which I felt like was one of the big right turns in my life where I found other sensitive people to like hang out with and really chat. A really defining embarrassing moment was that I was kind of considered a good student, and I like even into the middle of high school was still kind of getting good grades and in good classes. But my work ethic got worse and worse, and at one point I wrote this term paper for English, and then I tried to also turn it into my history class as a term paper for that class, same paper, because we happened to be studying the 1920s, and like we were studying 1920s poetry, then we were studying the 1920s, and I got caught, and I failed a whole semester of AP history, and all the teachers, teachers talk, right? Yeah. And suddenly I got this reputation as like, he's failed potential, like that kid. It's like he's not living up to it, like a lot of the other kids were. And I was really wounded by that.
And of course, now that you're a successful author, you're like, take that, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I've always had a little trouble with like discipline and motivation, but yeah, I mean, it like later on I figured out that like it's one of the reasons I was like, not only do I want to become an author, I have to, because like it's the thing I put my all into more than anything else. Like even when I was a teacher and I loved teaching, I still would slack off to write books or do something else. So it's so like it's the thing I'm most motivated by. I also won a spelling bee once. That was cool.
Oh yeah, those things are always fun. Get a ribbon, get a medal or something.
$25.
Oh, okay.
Savings bond.
Yeah, exactly.
What's a savings bond? Stupid.
All right, so these questions are a little bit more random, but they're kind of fun. So, okay, do you have a preference? Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Cats? Oh, good.
Dogs make me sneeze, though I do think they're cute.
Yes. All right, Batman or Superman?
Batman.
Good. You're doing good here.
Oh, thank you. Yes, 2 for 2.
If you were in the world of Divergent, what faction would you be in?
Oh my gosh. That's a really good question. Because I wish I could say Dauntless, but probably not.
But probably not.
Probably not. And then I'd like to say, is it abnegation? Is that how you say that word?
Yeah, abnegation.
Yeah, maybe more there.
More there?
Yeah.
All right.
And then it's probably, I don't remember actually the other 2 factions right off the top of my head, so.
Erudite and Candor.
Get back to me on that.
All right, I will. Last question. If you were in the world of Harry Potter, what house would you have been in?
I think, so am I being sorted at, how old is he when he's 11?
11.
When I was 11, I definitely would have been sorted into, it's possible Gryffindor, but I feel like I would have been more wait a minute. Definitely not Slytherin. Maybe later in high school though, because I started to get shifty. but I feel like it's like I would have ended up in like Hufflepuff.
Hufflepuff?
Yeah, because I wasn't quite like, I felt brave and heroic and true, but I didn't quite have it out there.
Right.
Yeah. What a lame answer. Oh well.
Oh well.
I feel like the Hufflepuff kids are so insignificant in those books, in like kind of, but that's where I might have been.
They're just kind of there. It's for all the rest of the people, but.
Yeah, but see, that's like in high school.
But they're good too. You need those people.
Yeah.
Society would not exist without those people. Could not function properly.
Yeah, I might have pulled off Gryffindor. Would have depended on the night.
Yeah.
I get nervous, so the Sorting Hat would have been like, "Whoa, you're freaking out right now. You should maybe just go over here and settle down."
Yeah. Well, at 11, I would have been freaked out too. Yeah. So, well, it was great talking with you, and I'm really glad we got to do this.
Awesome. Thanks for contacting me.
Yeah.